Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's 10:09. This is the March 10 meeting of the St. Louis County Human Relations Commission. Let me first take the roll of commissioners. Commissioner and Secretary Azra Ahmad.
Here.
Commissioner DeBeer sent a message earlier this morning, and we offer condolences to him and his family. His mother passed away over the weekend, and so they are in Chicago for a funeral, and we wish them all the best. And he is excused. Commissioner Fan. Commissioner Fan, can you hear? Can we hear you? I see a tile there with your name on it. No? All right, we'll come back to her in a minute. She may be there and not there at the same time.
Present?
Present. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
sorry, I had to change the audio settings, all these tech issues this morning.
I appreciate it. Good morning, Caroline. Commissioner Vice Chair Hall is not present. Commissioner James. Is muted. Can he hear?
I'm not sure. When I asked him, he did not reply.
Is he having, oh, here's Commissioner Pellegrini is apparently having trouble also. Let me, Rick, if you can hear, let me, if you could send Commissioner Pellegrini a new link.
Did she receive the email I just sent?
No, we're talking about Ekin Pellegrini, Commissioner Pellegrini. She sent the same message.
Rick, I just sent you the email, so you know.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Let's see if Tamika was able to get in. Commissioner James, are you able to hear?
I'm here.
Oh, great. Yay for us.
Well, I'm the caller number 3 on my phone, so.
Oh, you're using 3. Oh, okay. Okay, well, best we can do. I appreciate the quick thinking. Commissioner Johnson Commissioner Johnson, does anybody know Commissioner Johnson, if she's been around town or seen anybody in community or anything like that? I think we're gonna have to track her down. I'm not sure she's responding at all anymore. And Commissioner Pellegrini has been working to get in, but we actually have 4, and so we have a quorum, we can continue. And then with Commissioner Pellegrini.
I thought 5 was the.
Is it 5? I thought
'cause
we
it's-
needed 50%.
No, you need a majority.
Okay, so we're waiting on Commissioner Pellegrini, and hopefully Rick can get her in. Meanwhile, let me recognize those who are in attendance who we count on as guests. Kenneth Murdoch, the Director of the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Theda Person also of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Dr. Monica Stewart of the County Executive's Office of Community Outreach and Engagement. Dr. Stewart, you're muted, so.
Community Engagement Liaison.
Liaison. Thank you. I want to make sure I get that title correct. Thank you. Good morning. And Noah Goldcamp, liaison to this commission from the Office of the County Counselor. Here is Commissioner Pellegrini. Can you state your presence for the record? Great. We have a quorum. Yay. Phew. Can we have an approval for the minutes of February 10th? I believe Izzy sent those previously with the, um, we didn't actually have much activity on the 10th because we didn't have a quorum, if I recall. Do we have an motion for approval of whatever the minutes were on the 10th?
Motion to approve the minutes on the
Eh.
10th.
And a second. Is there a second?
Second.
By Dwayne James.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? The minutes of February 10, 2023 are approved. I did want to, for the sake of communications and considerations, note that there's been a significant attention being paid, certainly at the county council level and as well. Oh, good. Tamika has come in. Thank you. Great. For the challenges that have been faced by the transgender community over the past several weeks, couple of months, particularly with the attention being paid to anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ plus legislation in the Missouri state capital, as well as in, probably 13 or more states around the country, and the increasing challenges for folks in that community around receipt of gender affirming care. There certainly was an enormous and wonderful show of support for the Washington University Center at the county council meeting two or three meetings ago that was just striking. And I certainly know that the issue has been covered in the paper. I think the number of parents as well as providers who came forward to talk to the council about the key issues was really heartening. I don't know the status of that investigation. I think WashU was certainly taking all concerns very seriously, but I think one of the things, and we actually brought this up to the members of the U.S. Attorney's Hate Crimes Task Force last week, which had a meeting in the city to highlight for the law enforcement community the risks that all of this anti-trans and LGBTQ plus activity can have on potential issues around hate and bias incidents. So I think, at least I think there is very positive attention being paid and a significant amount of pushback on the negative policy efforts. And so I would like to just lay that out for this community. I've asked Tamika Perrine to come for to introduce us to herself and her work at Cultural Leadership. And Tamika, are you able to come on camera or can you hear us?
I got it to work. Yay.
Yay. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Good morning.
I wanted to, and I apologize because I had brought this up in the previous meeting. Here we go. Because I wanted to be able to share your background. Tamika has been in community engagement for a very long time in the St. Louis region, and boy, she takes on cultural leadership at a really kind of special time. And one of the things that I know Commissioner James is on the board of cultural leadership, and I sit on the advisory council. I think one of the things that I have seen over the past couple of meetings and conversations with Tamika is her sense of entrepreneurship, and that is something that excites me enormously because the capacity for innovation and growth is really there for the first time in a really long time. And I think that's just cool. But I did want to say that initially, before coming to cultural leadership, she was a director of development for the City Academy, which many of you know from its independent school days in the city, particularly around economic disparities and lifting up students for a very high quality education in that regard. She's done consulting and work for the United Negro College Fund, the St. Louis Fashion Fund, the Ferguson Youth Initiative. She has her own consulting group, and so has come at this issue of disparities, of equity, of justice, of youth from a lot of different levels. And so I wanted you to be able to meet Tamika and hear about what cultural leadership is doing. And so thank you. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you all for having me this morning. As Karen said, I'm Tamika Perrine. I'm the Executive Director of Cultural Leadership. And show of hands, how many people are familiar with our organization outside of Karen and Dwayne? Okay. Oh, wonderful. So we were founded in 2004 as a program to bring together students who were Black and Jewish and kind of recreate the partnership that existed during the Civil Rights Movement. Since then, we have grown and shifted to include all students, so Black, Jewish, and Allied. And the work we're doing now is focused on not just youth, but adults. So we work with 6th through 11th graders to teach them the historic and systemic reasons for racism, anti-Semitism, housing, education, economic inequity. And we do this in age-appropriate ways. We have found it important to work with the groups separately. So 6th through 7th, 8th through 9th, and then 10th through 11th, to provide them with this curriculum in ways that they can understand it. And so we explore identity in age appropriate ways. We create experiential, we kind of do experiential learning where we are providing them with hands-on ways to absorb this information. For our high school program with 10th and 11th graders, it's year-long, so we launch in December and they graduate in October. We meet monthly to explore all of these issues. We take them on a 21-day trip in June to Washington, D.C., in New York. We explore the Civil Rights Trail of the South. They have an opportunity to meet and engage directly with people who are leaders who are doing work towards creating a more equitable United States. We will meet with Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson this year. We're partnering with Brookings Institute. Historically, every year we meet with Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so our students have an opportunity to really see themselves and the people that we meet with and learn firsthand from those who are really working towards a better future. For our middle schoolers, we are doing, instead of the 21-day trip, a deep dive into housing inequity and redlining in Chicago for 3 days. And they'll be able to compare and contrast the experiences of those Chicagoans to those in St. Louis and what they learned about here, and really understand how these systems come to exist. And then we host camps for our 6th through 9th grade students where they do some fun camp activities, but also explore identity, explore some of these difficult topics as well. For the first time this year, we're pushing into schools, which is amazing in Missouri that we're doing it at this time, considering the climate of our state and everything going through legislation. But what that sees is us actually providing these lessons to students during the school day. And we're working with middle and high school students locally a lot, predominantly actually in St. Louis County. We're working with Parkway School District. We're working with Webster Grove. We're working with Hazelwood West. We're working with a lot of the county school districts to do what we're calling our cross-district partnerships, where we're bringing together two spatially diverse districts. So think Webster and Jennings. And the 7th graders from those schools come together for a semester of relationship building and learning. They'll go to the Holocaust Museum. They'll go to the Griot Museum. They'll learn together and build relationship and really start engaging with others who they would normally never have access to, and prevent some of those stereotypes before they're formed. At the end of the program, the two schools will do an advocacy project where they identify an issue and work together as those two communities to resolve that issue or figure out a resolution for that issue. And so that's the internal and external programming. And then we have an internship program for college students that we will launch in the summer of 24, where they'll come, we'll pair them with corporations and organizations here in St. Louis. And as they go through this paid summer internship, we will give them leadership and DEI training. in hopes to really start connecting them with these organizations and start bringing their talents back to St. Louis and changing the companies from within and the cultures of the companies from within and making this a more marketable region as a whole. So that is the bulk of the work that we're doing in Highlight. We're also doing some adult learning where we're doing courageous conversations with adult groups. We're providing some informational workshops and some supplemental training to faculty and staff of the schools that we're going into, where we're doing some of the cross-district partnerships. So we're trying to look at this holistically, starting at a young age and making changes and doing more preventative training for younger students, and then providing kind of information and training to the adults to supplement and help them support the learning that the students are doing.
Wow. Can I ask a quick question before I turn it over to other commissioners? In light, you mentioned the atmosphere in Missouri around equity and conversations in schools in particular. When you contacted schools to see about working with cultural leadership, did anybody tell you that they didn't want to work because they were worried about somebody in Jefferson City looking over their shoulder?
We didn't actually encounter any of that. We
Okay.
encountered some superintendents saying they're not going to tell me what happens in my district. We encountered some principals saying something similar. So we actually haven't encountered any of that. Also recognizing that a lot of the districts that we are working with, the superintendents are the ones pushing the work
Right.
in those districts.
Yeah. I'll open up the floor for any questions anybody has or comments.
Thank you for being here with us. One, if you have any interns who, you'd like for us at the Missouri Asian American Youth Foundation to host, I'm happy to do so. Two, have you found any inroads into Rockwoods? I'm just very concerned about everything going on at Rockwoods. My friend's daughter is actively being bullied both in person and online in Rockwood. And it doesn't seem like there's a ton of recourse for students, parents, etc. And what my friend said is that basically the kids who are being bullied in Rockwood tend to be Black, Asian, non-Christian, LGBTQ. Thanks.
We have not yet had conversations with Rockwood. They are on our list of districts to begin conversations with, recognizing, considering everything that is transpiring in that district, that's one of the more difficult districts to get our work into, but one of the more necessary districts to get our work into. And so we're brainstorming now on how we can do some of that work. I'd love to get into Rockwood. I know that their DI budget has been cut. And so we're open to the conversations and collaborating with whomever to figure out how to get in and work with their students and their faculty and staff. They're probably going to be the biggest challenge when it comes to districts that we're hoping to work with.
Does anybody else have any? Yeah, I guess the question is who ends up being allies for a district like Rockwood who could help, help any of the conversations that we've been trying to kind of deal with Rockwood for a while, who end up being the allies. I guess the superintendents kind of also have their own slight competition as well, so it's not like that's necessarily a vehicle.
I believe the superintendent for Rockwood, he's African American.
He is.
Yeah, which, it's a tough job for him. I had a question. So
Yes.
what activities do you do with the Jennings and Webster students besides going to museums?
So we'll be doing some identity work with them. It'll be courageous conversations. So we'll do each program will have kind of different a different agenda. So we're working with the schools to identify it, clarify. It's not one size fits all. So we're working closely with the faculty, staff, and administrators to identify issues that they're seeing in those districts, and then we're building programming around whatever those issues are for those districts specifically. So what we're doing with Webster and what we're working through with Webster would probably look very different than what we're working through within Jennings. But the collaborative work that anti-bullying is one that'll be overarching. So all of the schools will get some anti-bullying training, and we'll be doing some anti-bullying work. But we'll host what we call fish bowls, where we have one group, so say it's African American women or Asian American women, and we'll sit them in a circle with a facilitator that identifies similarly, and then they'll engage a conversation while everyone else who doesn't look who doesn't identify that way just listens. And so they'll talk through some difficult things. So if it's they'll talk through experiences and things of that nature. And then once the conversation's over, they turn out and the outer group is able to ask questions. So we'll be doing a lot of intentional work like that to help understand and build an understanding cross-culturally. And we'll also do some historical work diving into the history of Webster Groves, the history of Jennings, the history of the schools that we're partnering with.
Oh, wow. So does every student participate, or is it a specific grade?
So it's different for each school. In Jennings, we're going to start with their 7th graders. In Webster Groves, it'll be a few of the middle school, so some 6th, 7th, 8th graders. And it's really the school who determines what the group is that we'll be working with. For the high school in Webster, for instance, we are replacing one of their courses. And so it'll be an elective, and that'll be for 10th and 11th graders. So it looks a little different in all of the schools.
So right now you're just in 2 schools or 2 school districts? Or how many?
No. So I can share a list. So right now, we are in, like I said, Webster, we're in Webster Groves, we're in Confluence. We have signed on all 4 of the Parkway High schools, Webster Groves High and middle school. We are working with Hazelwood West. We're working with Jennings. We are going to be doing some work with Nearings and St. Joseph. We are working with, I'm trying to like go down the list in my head. And there are some others that Ladue and Clayton will be doing some work with. I'm working on getting into Lindbergh, but we're about to start conversations. I'm working to get into from the DI person there.
Very cool. Thank you. Dwayne, could I just put you on the spot? What attracted you to joining the Cultural Leadership Board? What was the part that turned you into an ally?
I would just say that I've seen their work in action. And so in doing work in the community, I saw how the youth basically led courageous conversations, were impacted into the work. So I was always just impressed by the empowerment that the organization did for the students. I also think that having these courageous conversations and having this entry points and understandings at a young age is only going to improve the community. So with that, I also am a fan of Tamika and then other staff members as well. And so it's always good to work with amazing individuals as you're working with amazing organizations as well. So
yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions? Tamika, let me ask real quick. How would you see a group like the Human Relations Commission commissioners? How would we be most effective in supporting cultural leadership?
I think as we grow these cross-district partnerships and work to get into the schools, if there's any assistance you can help with that. I think that as we start to engage and roll out these programs in August, I am sure that we will have some colorful conversations with parents, and that may come up. So there may be potential for support there.
Okay.
As we launch the alumni program, the internship program in 24, if you are aware of or open to connect us with potential partners to place interns. I think there's opportunity for help there as well. If we work a lot with other organizations to come in and educate our students. So we do a lot of partnering with other nonprofits and corporations to do education pieces during our programming. So if there's an expertise that you have surrounding any of these things, we'd love to potentially have you come in and talk to our students and parents, because we have parent programming that we're doing. If anyone is looking for a board position, you know,
You
there's
got space, huh?
there's some space there.
Okay, that's funny. Good. Very, very good. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Ekin, did you have anything you wanted before you had to? I know you have to roll off in a few minutes. Okay.
I had one
Um,
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Azra.
So, did you get any pushback or resistance from the schools that you're in right now?
We had, well, yes, there has been some pushback. I think because some of this is being driven from the top, there's been some resistance from some within the schools surrounding the curriculum and things we'll be talking about. Things like indoctrination come up, which is not at all what's happening. We're providing information, and the students are coming to their own conclusions with the information provided. So there's no indoctrination. CRT comes up. Clearly, there's not CRT happening here. Like no one, we know that. And so there has been some pushback in that way. But because we have built the relationships with the leaders are navigating some of that, and we're just supporting them as they navigate it.
Okay. So do you see yourself in Rockwood? Do you need an in or?
We need an in, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I would echo what Dwayne said about the youth. I mean, they tend to be so impressive in their ability to speak for the program's success because of, you know, their own responses to the learning and their engagement. It's very hard. I would think it would be very hard for adults, whether they're parents or school administrators or educators, to not hear that and take some confidence in what all of the programming offers. So in some ways, maybe the alumni program ends up being a big value to getting people into a district like Rockwood to say, hey, this is my experience. This is what it really was. And this is what it could be for your students now. But that's just me. I think the youth are incredible. Yeah. And I guess it would be nice to know how many of them do go on to be real leaders. I mean, they're all leaders, but leaders in a way that can drive public opinion, because that's what we need to see more of in this town. So,
And it really is the students. The change is coming in that way, and not by changing adults. Adults have their own perspectives. They've got their own, biases. They've got their own opinions. But if we can intercept and educate early, before those biases, before those racist and anti-Semitic thoughts are formed, then we can really make change. And so, if we can get into the students, I think that's where we're going to find most success.
yeah, great. Thank you for coming to visit today. We look forward to staying. Oh, Kenny, did you want to?
I just want to make it. Can I get your email?
Yeah, I
Yes.
want your email.
Yeah, I'll share it with everybody. Not a
Oh,
problem.
wonderful. Also, if you know any students, that's another way to help.
Right.
We launched applications for our camp. So our camps this year are for 6th through 7th and then 8th through 9th. And they're July and August. And if you know any students who you think would be interested in participating in those camps, please share the information. And then we'll, of course, have our programming for our applications for our high school and emerging change makers programs launching in April. So please share those as well.
It's good timing. Okay.
I'm sorry. What is your website? So if I wanted to share that information about those camps.
Yes, it's culturalleadership.org.
And the camps are on there, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you all.
And thank you for visiting today. Really appreciate it. The only sort of real item left on the agenda besides the update on the equity plan. So thank you for reviewing the what was the draft annual report. I did send it to Dr. Page's office on the first as a draft, and then once I got your comments, and I followed up and took it out of draft, I think on Monday. So there is a final there, and it's pretty basic. It's not, it's reflected what we did. I don't think I padded much, let's put it that way. So to the extent that it is really in terms of just the continuing conversation and the relationships and the people we're meeting, and the way we're engaging as the equity plan stuff continues, we'll add that into the mix. We did provide the links in the report to all of the um, recordings from the equity plan conversation. So that information is out there and can be used. And I did make the one alteration Ekin, so that changes in there. Thank you, specifically on the on the Women's Forum. And Kenny, in that regard, on old business, before we lose Ekin and our our quorum, anything specific to report right now?
I'll be really quick. I'm working with the youth board, and DEI and the youth board will be writing the equity plan together.
Great.
And then we'll bring it by you for just review to see if we capture everything that happened in the public meetings. But like Karen said, the public meetings are up on YouTube, and you can close at any time. And we'll
Yeah.
be getting in touch with you as soon as we write some with the youth board.
Cool. Is there anything further that we need to share about anything going on in the community? Oh, I want to thank Caroline, by the way. I was not able to attend the Hispanic Capital Day, which was Tuesday, Wednesday in Jefferson City, but I want to thank Caroline and Missouri Asian American Youth for being an ally for that community. I understand it was a good trip.
Yes. Also, really quickly, I want to share that Opera Theater is going to be debuting 3 new works by queer and BIPOC creators. I serve on the New Works Collective, which was a group of about 10 community leaders who, in a very new model, OTSL turned over artistic decision making about who and what stories are being told. So one group is the Slants, which is a Chinatown dance rock band that took their case all the way to the Supreme Court and won. And then one is Madison Lodge, which is by Trey, who is a St. Louis native, about the birth of Harlem drag culture. And then the other is Cook Shack, which is by a Black artistic team about a young Black girl who's being bullied in school, and then she visits the griot and learns about all these amazing African American women through history. So that's March 16th to 18th. It's at Coca. Tickets are quite affordable. And I got Corey Bush to introduce the first night. So yeah, I think it gives me hope that even to such a very European, Western-centric art form that we can have new creators, new voices, new stories. Um, the other thing I should note is we will be bringing the White House Initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, probably in middle to late April, to the St. Louis area, and that will be focused on healthcare and education.
Okay, you'll let us know relevant links when it's time?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I think we already lost Ekin, so we don't have to formally move to adjourn. We can just say happy Friday. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next month, and be safe. Enjoy the weekend.
Bye.
Karen,
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Yeah.
you said something about next month being
Oh,
holidays.
I did. Okay. Sorry. Right. So next month at this time, we had both we had both of Ramadan, the end of Ramadan, which will be coming, and also Passover. So I thought we might take a pass for next month. Would you guys be okay with that? I guess we can't actually vote on it. What can I do, Noah? Can we just can I like send an email saying we're canceling April and we'll reconvene in May? Or-
So there are no, by ordinance, you are not ordered to meet every month. So you can just not have a meeting.
Okay, let's do
If you
that
don't
in
need
light
to
of,
formally-
got it. Okay, in light of a Ramadan and the end of the Ramadan holiday and Passover, I'll send out that email just to give you all a heads up. But we'll bail on April and we'll plan on coming back the second Friday in May. And we'll go from there. All right, thank you, everybody. Good weekend. Thanks, Izzy. Bye,
Bye.
y'all.